Hi. Hello. Yeah, I actually delivered on a promise. Welcome to a special episode of Passive Pixels, a media catch-up podcast, where we're just going to talk about the first 3 episodes of The Leftovers because I love it enough that it deserves that kind of attention. Now, I've invited the top experts about The Leftovers, or literally anyone that I could just find, from a random assortment of nations. I grabbed a map, grabbed a dartboard, and just tossed. And somehow it landed on Brazil and Canada because I assumed the globe only had one side. We've got over here the mastermind of Canada itself, the man who probably swapped out all the snow for extra cocaine, Addiholic himself. And then we have over here the man who is the terror of the Brazilian slums with his 1800 shotgun, John. These are the two people we have. These are the experts we have. John, Addi, I would tell one of you guys to explain something about yourselves, but by the sheer fact that I said both of your names, I didn't want you to talk over each other. So now, I guess we'll start with John. John?
I would like to say that technically it's the 1900s, but it's a really good shotgun.
Addi, is there anything that you'd
And
like
it's
to
not
correct from my preamble?
also it's not a slum, it's a favela. Please have some class.
Okay, sorry. The favelas, not the slums. The slums, horrid places.
Oh, it's
Favelas,
all the
a
same
little higher
shit. Don't
class.
get me wrong. It's just I'm just trying to emphasize the fucking Brazilian part.
Addi, is there anything that you have to say about the snow cocaine that's just parading around Canada?
No, it's I like the snow cocaine. I like cocaine. Hi, I'm Addi. I actually thought I was signing up for the Breath of the Wild hate cast, but apparently that's next week. So this is
Oh,
good for now.
call me.
No. The next week is actually going to be Is Abby supposed to be that buff? The Last of Us Part 2 Spoilercast.
Well, there we go. Okay, good.
Yeah, no. I already have the protein powder in my house. I've already killed a couple of people who looked a little infected. Sadly, it
That's
might
good.
have been just the flu, but they were infected nonetheless.
Do you play golf?
Oh, always.
Yeah, then you're good to go.
So we have very, very esteemed believers in Lindelof have joined here to put our hands together and thank Lord Lindelof for giving us The Leftovers. Now, we're going to keep it segmented to 3 episodes because this podcast isn't exactly like my others, where my others are just me shit talking whatever I want to shit talk or praising as much as I want to. This one actually has a purpose of getting you to watch The Leftovers. I would have said, let's talk about the entire series, but if we split up and just talk about the first 3 episodes, I feel like that gives people more of a chance to watch. So just assume full spoilers from all this out for just the first 3 episodes. For the love of God, do what you need to do, okay? You probably signed up for HBO Max for things like Wonder Woman 1984. For the love of God, just watch The Leftovers, okay? It's there already. So let's go ahead and at least start with Scene 1, Act 1 of The Leftovers, because I can't think of a better way to start not only this podcast, but a TV show. Let's talk about October 14th, 2011.
Yeah, I can start. So I think the opening scene with her and her baby and just the panic of the situation and everything going on, it's just a perfect tone setter, I feel, for the universe and for what you're getting into with that show. It's horrific, it's somber, it's brutal. It opens the world up and it's horrifying. And it's something that I think sets the tone for the rest of the series. And it's great.
I think that one thing that I can also add is that it's chaotic. From the moment the show starts, she's on her phone, she's trying to do the laundry, her baby is crying, everything just is going on full steam ahead, and it gives you a sort of anxiety just watching, because holy shit, take care of your child, why are you screaming? Put a phone. Don't you know earphones, you can put them in order to speak on your phone? That's something that actually annoyed me, because she was holding her phone on her shoulders while she was trying to talk.
But I would say that does add to the anxiety.
Yeah.
Just having
Oh, for sure.
a
Yeah.
baby trying to put in laundry, holding up a phone, like that's contortionist as you're going through.
It takes on a contrast when suddenly it happens and the baby stops crying and she turns off her phone and she looks back and it's quiet, and then you realize the baby is gone. Then she gets out of the car, goes around, looks for her baby, then just starts screaming. And then it's full-blown chaos again. Like there's kids crying, cars hitting each other. It's fucking chaos again.
One of my favorite things that I picked up, so the main reason that it even got onto the podcast list is that I am now on my 3rd rewatch of The Leftovers. I finally introduced my best friend to it after we finished Mr. Robot. The one thing I picked up this time watching it is that you have 3 separate examples of someone losing someone, whether if you know it or not. From watching the first episode, you know that two people have lost different people. You have a child losing a parent, and you have a parent losing a child. Then later on in episode 3, you realize it is a husband losing their wife as well. And there's something that just feels so book writing, because of course, the show, the first season is a book. It just felt very book writing to very start off. Just, you have 3 different ways that people have lost someone almost right off the bat. And I just found that really poetic, just because it hits you in the face with, it doesn't matter who you are, you could have lost all of this as well.
For sure. And to interject, it's also a fantastic book. I highly recommend, if you like the show, check out the book too. It was really good.
You read the book. Was that before or after?
I read it after.
Okay. I'm curious. Well, we'll get to it later, just because I do have questions when it comes to those interjecting scenes that pop up later. But for now, I'll try and keep it focused on the intro. How about that Max Richter piano?
Oh, I have it. It's the second note in my notepad, is that the music's amazing right from the start. Like, it just draws you in right away, and you know you're getting something special with the music.
Not only the music, but the art from the intro as well. There's a holiness to it.
The intro isn't until episode 2.
Really?
Yeah, it's not in the pilot, which I actually didn't remember.
Yeah. Oh my god, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the first episode is feature length, and they treat it basically as a pilot. This is what they put in front of HBO and said, hey, can we please get a show order? So the intro wasn't there till the second episode.
That's
What
interesting.
would fit in as the intro, I guess, for the first episode is the cut to black, and you have the multiple phone calls of people calling saying that they lost someone.
Yes. And then we jump to Kevin just jogging 3 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin in the sweatpants.
Yeah.
Kevin in the sweatpants with everyone wanting Justin Theroux's dick.
Yeah, that's another common theme throughout the series for some reason.
Everyone wants Justin Theroux, and you know what? I'm not going to say I don't get it, okay? This is This is a special one-off episode, and every other episode I've simped for at least one man for very quickly, whether if it's Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt, and now in this episode, Justin Theroux.
Yeah.
Good job. Good for you, Justin Theroux. Jennifer Aniston, you fucked up.
No, I'm not going to mention this, but even Meg at some point when she's talking to Laurie, she says, "Oh, your husband is the hot cop."
Yeah, that's a great line.
Which, accurate. Accurate. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
it does make the GR look a whole lot less attractive when you have that at home.
Oh, yeah.
You left that at home.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, so first scene, man,
Shocking and powerful.
Tone setter.
there's nothing about that first scene that I can really complain about. There's only one thing that I feel always hits me a little quicker, is that I really don't think HBO gave them that much money.
No, this was a low budget series for sure.
So, John, just because you look a little confused, I mean, it's impressive to me how they made it feel very global when you're only walking into a laundromat and a street.
Oh, yeah. The first intro, that's basically it. Especially when you include the phone calls later and when you fade to black, that gives that global aspect.
Not only that, then just having Justin Theroux run through and actually hearing the not death tolls, the missing tolls for the different countries. I remember that my best friend, I actually heard him gasp when they got to China and he heard almost 28 million.
And then the someone giving an interview that is just like, oh, it's only 2%. It's not that much, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. I think what's really cool too is, maybe jumping ahead a little bit, but I feel that in the first 5 minutes of this show, you basically get a baby that disappears and a dog's head blowing off. And if that's not basically a tone setter for the entire fucking series of what's to come, it's basically saying, hey, you're either in still or get the fuck out.
Also,
That's how I felt.
I jumped on my seat because the dog getting shot is the last thing I expected.
Same.
The dog getting shot is, I just want to echo it. Just even though Addi said it beautifully, I still want to echo. If there is any way to tell your audience this is going to be some depressing shit, have a baby disappear, a mother freak out, and then have a dog get shot point blank in frame. Not only that, but then to have that dead dog in the back of a car actually be a plot point through the episode, and then also have the woman who owns that dog look at the dead dog's collar and just go,
what about it?
Okay, yeah. What?
Yeah. Her lack of emotion in that scene gets me every time. She's just so cold.
Especially another thing that emphasizes that is at the end, that line, they're not our dogs anymore. It goes in perfect contrast with that woman saying that, because, the dog went away just like my husband 3 years ago. I don't care.
So, do we actually think that those dogs did have something broken in them when they saw people? Just poof?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's one of the mysteries that the show doesn't pretend to want to care to answer. And I think it just kind of lingers around. I don't think they really say definitively ever. I think it's very possible that that is what happens. Dogs are very smart in that regard, so I would believe that there would be something
Especially if you
missing from them
consider,
too.
oh yeah, their owners disappeared, then the dogs just, I don't have an owner anymore. I'm wild again. Something on their brains just, it's a switch that just goes poof.
Oh, I mean, I have a brother-in-law who their dog is so social anxiety without them. They left my house for a little bit. The dog was here and he just stayed at the door the entire time while they were gone. I can't imagine if that dog had seen his owner poof, he would probably break and just not being able to function anymore. I am in the camp that the dogs who did break probably were around someone who just disappeared. They just, in their brain, they just cannot
But
comprehend
that's another thing.
what happened.
I think it's all dogs. It might not be just the ones whose the owners disappeared, because at the end of season 2, I still haven't seen someone that owns a dog at all
Huh.
in the show.
Addi, do you remember any dogs?
You know, I got to rewatch it. I don't. I don't remember if there
Yeah,
are any other owners with dogs, actually. That's a good point. It could just, yeah, maybe.
I specifically paid attention to that. No one else owns a dog.
That's interesting.
Okay, all right. That's gonna break me a little.
Lindelof isn't the type of guy to do something like that accidentally, too. So if nobody owns a fucking dog, that's a point.
Okay, then now that just leads me to the question: Did 2% of dogs disappear?
Yeah, I don't know if people
Yeah,
would
that's a good
care
question.
about that, because when 2% of the population disappears, they're not really paying attention to the animals anymore.
I mean, Gary Busey disappeared, so.
Well, he did a movie where he turned into a dog, so
That's
yeah, that's
obviously the connection. That Lord Lindelof has blessed us
Also,
again.
by the way, best line on every show ever. The Pope, I get it, but fucking Gary Busey.
It's a great line.
Oh, the man's delivery, just because it's like
Yeah.
Gary fucking Busey. He says it slowly enough that it just sinks into you, just every single syllable as he says it.
It's so funny because I was thinking the exact same thing before he turned off the television.
Oh man. Just because I do want to jump a little ahead to episode 2. I specifically had told my best friend to look at the screen whenever they had, well, I forget what the sitcom was. Was the sitcom
I think it
Trading
was
Places?
Oh,
family something. Family Matters.
Is it Family Matters? Because I thought Family Matters was
No, not
Urkel.
Family Matters. It's something with Shia LaBeouf.
Wait, Shia
Yes.
LaBeouf was no.
Hang on.
Okay, you know what?
it's Perfect Strangers, I thought.
Perfect Strangers. Yes.
One of the characters looks like Shia LaBeouf. That's what I noticed.
So the one thing is that whenever Kevin's dad was in the I don't even know what the proper term is. I'm just gonna go say nut house and hope I don't get canceled. Whenever his dad was in the nut house and whenever the sitcom was on, it clicked in my brain what that was, and I told him I was like, look, this isn't important, but this is important. Just pay attention to everything that Kevin's dad says. And Kevin's dad does mention, oh yeah, the entire cast poof. And oh man, I'm so happy that I pointed that out to him because I do think I did forget that later on in the series.
Same. Yeah, I didn't remember the first time I watched it. But that is a really important point.
I still can't believe it's an important point. I love this show so much.
That's Lord Lindelof for you.
Lord Lindelof blesses us with his writing. Jumping back to episode 1, just because, yeah, we can jump back and forth, but I want to add at least a little structure. Not too much, just a little. So the question that I did have, since Addi, you did read the book, the scenes wherever they intercut, just rapid amount of violence. I want to say it's Lori who just wakes up and then she has an image of these two kids at what looks like a
Yes.
Catholic school beating each other up. Is that a book thing or is that a very abrasive just editing thing that they added to the show?
You know, this is a bad answer, but I honestly don't remember. It's been a long time since I've read the book, so I don't remember the exact specific details of it. What I do remember about the book is a lot more focused on the main Garvey family. So Jill, Lori, Kevin, and Tom. And everybody else is ratcheted way down. So that much I do remember is it's just mainly focusing on the 4 family members and not much else. But
Okay.
in terms of the specific stuff, I'd have to read again to really remember.
Okay, no, that's fine. If anything, then I'll discuss it just mostly from a TV episode viewing thing than, trying to reference the book. Whenever I tell people to watch The Leftovers, even though I love season 1 and I understand why people might not get into it, I usually tell them that season 1 feels like it is a child that you love that's becoming a teenager, and they just keep doing everything they can in their power to not have your love, but you feel like you still need to love it
Yes.
regardless. And I feel like one of those editing choices that they have in season 1 where Lori just wakes up, has a smoke, and then it's this abrasive cut to very shaky cam, just violence between these two girls fighting each other, and then Lori just back to smoking. I feel like it's abrasive moments like that that make my previous statement true, where it feels like this show is being abrasive and just not thinking it deserves love like almost anyone else in this show does.
The show is Jill, basically.
Yes. I mean, that is pretty much accurate. Jill is just acting up this entire episode, but to be fair,
Yes.
how can you not? How
Oh.
can you not? You have Kevin over here who just does not want to acknowledge anything that is going on with them emotionally. Tom is just completely gone. And then you have Lori go, I'm going to take this new world religion. I don't even know what to call it. The belief? What are we going to call GR?
The cult. They
Cult.
say they
Yeah,
aren't,
cult.
but they are.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they say they aren't, but
Even though I don't like Holy Wayne, we can compare Holy Wayne to GR and say that since obviously this was a book, you're probably supposed to draw
Yes.
parallels between them
I
and
wouldn't
say
put,
both of them are
I wouldn't
cults.
put Patty on the same shoes as Wayne, but I would put the entirety of GR, the movement, as Wayne's. Because Patty is such a cynical character.
yeah, she's fantastic. Holy Wayne's like a maggot, and Patty's like a, I don't know, a lot bigger bug. That's a terrible comparison, but
She's 4D chessing this.
she's the
Yes,
mastermind. He's
exactly.
the snake oil salesman.
Do you think Wayne is actually believing what he's selling?
I think he's
Yes.
narcissistic enough to believe that, yes. And I will say one thing, you were saying that you didn't really like Holy Wayne. I don't know if you meant from a character perspective or from just in general, but I found it interesting. Rewatching the first episode, I was like, Holy Wayne's a little bit better than I remember him. I think the character's actually really cool and what he's doing. And then we get to episode 2 and it's like, him and Tom really are kind of the weak links of season 1. I definitely do see that, but I found that interesting because the first episode, I was like, I kind of like the mystery that they're surrounding him with, and they kind of throw a lot of that
One thing
away
that I
in
noticed
the
about,
second episode.
especially in the manner of character writing, I also think that Holy Wayne is a maggot, but his character is written so fucking well. The scene, especially in the second episode, where he goes to Tom
Oh, it
and
is.
like, I don't get you, man. You're the only one that I don't get. He is just a person. He's not holy at all. He's just really good at
You're all suffering, no
he's
salvation.
really good at reading people, and that's how he manipulates them to believe him.
I'm leaning more on the he's so narcissistic that
Of
he
course.
probably does believe
Of
he
course
actually
he
does have
But
powers.
he doesn't realize that his real power, quote unquote, is just reading people and saying what they want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. He is actually really talented at that.
So the reason why I said I don't like Holy Wayne is that every single time, so I'm counting Holy Wayne as Tom's storyline. I know that he's not in it much, but all of Tom's storyline is just put in a direction by Holy Wayne. So that entire slant of the show is something that anytime I go to, I keep thinking this isn't exactly as good as everything else in the show. So I just generally don't like it. And I do think that it's not really a problem of just that storyline. I think it's just that everything that's going on in Mapleton is just so infinitely more interesting that anytime I cut over to Tom, I'm just like, okay, well, come on. Come on.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see what the point of Tom's storyline is outside of showing he is very lost and he doesn't know what to do. That he's even believing any of the shit that Holy Wayne told him.
I think it's more of a vehicle for Kevin too, just in the fact that there's another person in his life that he's lost,
Yeah,
along with Lori.
especially if you consider that Kevin does not know where Tom is, even into season 2. He has no idea where Tom is until, well, I'm not going to spoil season 2, but Tom also works as a character motivator for Laurie at some point.
He does. It's just that I feel like so of course, even though we're still trying to keep it segmented to the first 3 episodes, I feel like Tom serves his
Yes.
purpose in the first episode. I would never advocate for Tom being killed off, but with what he adds to the show throughout episodes 2 and well, not 3, but what he adds to episode 2 doesn't feel like it adds enough to the show to make it better. So I'm not advocating for Tom to die, But let's say that he showed up in episode 2 and then just went underground the entire time. Look, they did it for Game of Thrones seasons 5, where basically Bran just disappeared into a
I'll
tree
say
for an
this:
entire season. So
Tom works a lot better as a tool for other characters than a character himself.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
I can get behind that. He is a good motivator when it comes to Kevin. So whenever Kevin just keeps calling him in the first episode, it's just something that you realize it's the only moments of vulnerability that we get from Kevin in the
Yeah,
first episode.
especially if you consider, like, if someone had disappeared, like, they disappeared. If someone dies, they're dead. If someone joins the GR, they're in the GR. But he just has no idea where Tom is, and that is such a difference for his writing, the way that makes him act regarding Tom as a father. Yes.
And as a father, you're obviously going to be concerned about that sort of thing. So
Oh yeah, no, definitely. So Holy Wayne, it's not really a problem with him. He is super creepy. He does everything he needs to do, and his acting is completely on point. It's just that storyline itself that throughout episodes 1 and 2, I just keep thinking, I remember all of these parts going nowhere. And so far, just from watching the first 2 episodes, I feel like that's still accurate.
yeah, no, I would agree with that.
So, okay. Now, those are the parts of the first episode that I really wanted to touch. From here, I kind of want to go full ring. Where do you guys want to go from the first episode?
There's one point I wanted to make actually, just really early on in the episode. I think Kevin's changing and there's a TV on in the background. And I believe it's the first time you hear that 2% of the world's population has disappeared. It's just kind of a throwaway line on the back of the TV while he's changing. And the more I thought about that, the more interesting it is to me because, again, not going into spoilers later on in the series, but it's kind of in the background. And I remember the first time watching that, I was worried. I was like, please don't let this be a lost thing where it's like there's a big mystery about the 2% and don't make the show be about that. But I think the fact that it was so kind of casual in the background on the TV and they don't even really draw importance to it just kind of shows the direction they were going to go on. And I thought that was a really cool shot.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
that it is telling for the series that even though, like, that's not even the main driving point, that's something that happened in the world. The main driving point is like how people react. It is not trying to discover, oh, what happened, will it happen again. It's not even about that. It's just the story of a father that his family is in shambles. First episode I was like, okay, did his wife just disappeared, until the end where it's revealed when he goes drunk to the GR's commune. I don't know if that's what it's called. in middle of town, in middle of town commune, and then he's trying to talk to Laurie, and then you realize that she's his wife,
which is a great fucking reveal, by the way. So well done.
What I love about that scene where he saves her is that even though you see him pick her up, she gives him an extra long look, not long enough to make you realize that they are someone to each other, but just long enough that she might be someone to someone.
Yes.
That's what I'm always impressed with. Someone's calling me. We don't need this anymore. Okay, so that scene specifically where they start explaining things, I am always super impressed with how they fixed the problem with Lost. Lost was always just kind of bouncing back between character work and the mystery. And what I love is that they basically blatantly tell you and still somehow subconsciously tell you the mystery is not the focus. The very fact that Kevin just has this TV on in the background giving you key information to the entire world and he does not care. He is just here to get his clothes on and go to work. Not only that, you even have the GR making conversations about their plans later on while they are continuing talking. That's impressive to me that we are getting character work that we're paying attention to at the same time as getting world building, and yet we're basically subconsciously told the world building is telling you do not care about this.
Yeah.
Let the mystery be.
Which we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. But man, that's so
Yeah.
good.
It's on the nose.
That's what isn't that what's so impressive, that it feels like this show is so on the nose sometimes and yet it can be subtle in the exact same breath.
Yeah, it's because you don't realize you're being spun. Like you don't realize what's happening to you until it happens, and it's really brilliantly done.
So now the first episode. Well, once again,
last note that I want to add to the first episode, it's how it ends, where Kevin is drunk and he's just walking his way home, and the bald guy from the beginning, it's Michael Gaston, the actor. He just drives by he sees the deer, and then the dogs just go and start munching on the deer. tearing it apart, and it's
Tearing
gruesome.
it
The, the,
apart.
the show the show shows you like bones being broken and skin ripping apart, and then Michael Gasson just drives by with the truck, stops, and just says like, "Yeah, they're not our dogs anymore," and start shooting dogs. Grab your gun, let's shoot these dogs.
Speaking of low budget, that was one of the moments where it felt low budget, just because you can kind of tell that they just had these dogs just attack probably a deer fuzz, and they would zoom in, shake it really quickly, just so you can't really tell what you're looking at.
You have to
It's
work
not a
around what you
complaint.
have.
It's not a complaint. Look, I understand that. Oh yeah, of course. Look, Game of Thrones was still on. Okay, that you're gonna save money for the CGI for that. Okay, I'm so sorry that Lindelof couldn't get a check until Watchmen. I get it. But oh, come on, let's be honest. Lindelof got his paycheck for Watchmen. It wasn't The Leftovers was not paying any
And
bills.
that's a shame.
No, absolutely not.
Oh no, don't worry.
It is a shame.
Don't worry.
Crying
We're
shame.
doing this podcast, so hopefully you can pay at least maybe his water
Someday
bill.
he will.
Good.
But man, all I can think about this first episode is that for what it does, looking forward even all the way to the end of the first episode, there's nothing quite like a pilot that just nails everything that you're going to be watching from then on forth.
Absolutely.
Let's go into the slower part that is the second episode, because
Can I mention one more thing from episode one?
have at it.
Sorry, there was just one more thing I wanted to mention, and I just wanted to draw work to Patty specifically. She's one of my favorite characters in the entire series, and her arc just is amazing watching it go, which I won't spoil, obviously. But I just wanted to specifically point the line that she doesn't talk much, obviously, because she's in the GR. But when she says to Meg, "You and I won't speak again," that
means
line
it.
when she's talking with Liv Tyler, Meg, in the parking lot after she's come to the GR, I find that line so fucking powerful, and that entire sequence just amazing. So
You know what? We'll go into that scene then. I do think when it comes to that scene, I'm just so impressed with just you hear Patty speak, and it's startling just because you see all these people in white. They get their asses beat hours prior to this, and not a single peep from them. Of course, you had the music drowning out, and you have the fighting and all drowning out anything that they could have said, but that's still in your head thinking they got their asses beat, and they didn't say a single solitary word until they got a recruit.
yeah, I thought it was specifically powerful, and I love that scene and that line. So I just wanted to draw attention to it.
By the way, no one's ever been to a high school party where people are burning each other, right?
Oh, that was awkward. That scene with her and the guy in the bed, God, that made me cringe. Which it's supposed to, but Jesus Christ.
The little world building of just saying, hey, they left this bed for a daughter who's probably never coming back. Now, this is just completely off the wall, but it just reminded me of this. It's funny that I think about how whenever I left my parents' house, they renovated the house. And then when my wife left her house, basically they kept her room in crystalline. And so I just love hearing that scene where they're like, yeah, we just left the room completely as is.
Well,
and just
you can
watching
see
that.
around me that I'm on a closet recording this, but this used to be my sister's room before she left the house. My parents waited like no time. It's
In their
really good.
defense, it's a nice closet.
It has a nice space. There's like a whole shelf just for the shoes. It's top notch.
It's just one of those things that I'm pretty sure whenever parents know that their kid is out, they know they can take over. But man, it's got to be really harrowing for any parents who lost kids during this, just because you are in this perpetual state of, am I still a parent? Am I not? Do I change anything? Do I move on? Do I grieve?
By the way, in
Will they come
that
back one
note
day?
of like
Yeah.
parents losing childs and childs losing their parents, is Amy's parents gone? Because she's living with Kevin and his daughter.
That's the thing. You know what? I will set a timestamp just because that is
Okay.
spoilerish for what happens
Don't
later.
also
So,
answer it.
you know what? 3. No, so that's the thing. I don't mind putting it in here just because I know people will listen to this at some point after they've watched the entire show.
Okay.
So they'll probably get the answers later. So 3, 2, 1. Kevin is
Yes,
fucking
I
Amy.
got that. Or
So I assume that Amy is just coming over.
wait,
Like the entire reason that she's there constantly feels like
yes, but
Kevin
is
is
he
fucking
though?
her, and that's just what's going on there.
Yeah.
He clearly thinks about it.
Yeah.
He clearly has lust for her, but I don't know if she actually did it, because later down the line, then Jill asks her, "Oh, because are you fucking my dad?" And Amy's not pleasant about that question. She's not taking it lightly.
The only thing I'll say to that is you got to remember that Kevin's a bit of an unreliable narrator sometimes. So yes, it
I don't
seems
know
like
if they
they're fucking,
actually are.
but
I don't know
who
if they
knows?
actually are.
Who actually knows?
I am sure that Kevin wants to. You can see it like when they wake up and she's like in her red gown and he just looks at her like for a long ass time, more than he should. Or his dream in the early in episode 2, his dream.
That's the thing. The very fact that we can have those dream sequences and we kind of understand that it's a dream sequence, I still do think that I wouldn't be shocked if Kevin is fucking Amy just because he also was cheating on Lori and that's where he was during the disappearance. So that's where I wouldn't be shocked if, since we're thinking more of book writing than TV writing, it feels like it's book writing to have a parallel of him cheating with that stranger during the disappearance and also sleeping with Amy during the entire time.
Yeah, I do think they're fucking, but I also think the show is open enough that you can
Fair enough.
question it if you want.
All right, now I'm going to cut that there and say, you know what? That's the bit of spoilers that we can get through. So, let's try this again. Anything from the first episode that you guys want to touch on? Check notes, see if there's anything. Just because I feel like I can remember this episode, but the very fact that I forgot to mention that scene where they just tell you straight up, hey, this isn't about the mystery, this is about the people. Like, the very fact that I overlooked that makes me think, you know what? Maybe I should have taken notes.
Yeah, that's honestly why I took the notes, because I wouldn't remember this shit otherwise. But I think we covered most of the things. Just one more time, the music's fucking amazing, which will be my start to episode 2 as well.
Oh, I'm done. We need to move on.
So, to jump to episode 2, then, let's just start off right where Addi left off. How about that
Yes.
intro music?
Oh
Yes.
my god.
Yes, honestly, yes.
Just yes, honestly, yes. It's my phone's ringtone. I'm holding up my phone right now. I've had the same
It's
phone
so
ringtone
good.
for years now, and I will never change it. It's so good.
The funny thing is that if we're going to talk about ringtones, the ringtone that I've had is the codec call.
That's a good one.
The alert sound is the alert sound on my phone. So if I
That's
have any
fantastic.
sort of notification, I immediately have a heart attack.
Oh,
Which,
yeah.
by the way, really easy to do these things on Androids. Just want to say
Super
that.
easy.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
putting it out there.
Look, we'll just drop it now, okay?
Fuck
We'll just
Apple.
drop it now. Fuck
Fuck
Apple. All right. Let's move on now. No, nope. That's where we leave it. That's where we leave it. No arguments
But yeah,
needed.
beyond none whatsoever. Beyond just the music though from the intro, I think
visuals.
you mentioned it earlier, John, but the visuals
Yes.
of that intro they're haunting. They really are haunting.
The paintings are just so amazing because they clearly show, there is no pattern. Everyone been abducted. Kids, women, gays, straight people, everyone.
I love how
Yes.
overtly religious it feels. There's something
Oh,
so
for sure.
overbearing about the music and the visuals. The fact that you have basically Kevin having his head ripped off by, you would assume, Lori or Jill. The fact that you have Nora for a second just looking up to the sky completely alone. You have kind of the
Yes.
gay couple and the lesbian couple in the middle of it. And you would think that, at least the way I read that, is that I would imagine that's what some people
Yes.
thought caused the disappearance, where they thought, oh, we were living in so much sin, we were allowing the gays to live as they do, this is what we deserve. There's so much subtext put into the intro of the show. That's how much care is put into
It's
the show.
fantastic.
It's phenomenal. It's one of the few TV intros I will not skip. When I'm watching a CTV series and I'm binging it, I'll usually end up skipping through the intros. I will never skip the Leftovers intro, especially season 1.
Now, we're not going to. I feel like I want to mention it, and I'm going to just say season 3 intros. That's it. We're not. Nope, Addi. No.
I'll shut my mouth.
Just we're saying season 3 intros. That is it. That is it. That's where we leave it. But man, that season 1 intro, there's just something about that final person who floats away. The black guy who's looking at what I assume is probably a brother, or that's the thing. They look about the same age, right? The man who looks down and his hand is just holding down and he looks like, I don't know what's happening. There's something about ending on that shot before they zoom out is just haunting to me.
I agree.
It's so good.
Oh my god,
It's
such
fantastic.
a good intro.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so fantastic. It's just amazing.
Now, the real bad thing about the intro is that it's too good that the rest of the episode feels
Before
like it's
the
lacking.
intro even plays, we get
It's
a
true.
scene where like the two agents are talking, and they're the agents of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, Explosives, and Codes. You cut out the code part, and that's a good time for me. And that scene was also so good because they're just talking like, yeah, what about this guy? He runs a cult. Holy Wayne, they call him. He just wants to have sex. Let's fuck him up. And they just shoot everybody. They just murder. Like we're not worried about arrests. We just want to fucking kill them.
Addi, do you want to jump in
It was
before I do?
such a good scene.
It's a very intense intro. The only thing I wanted to note really quickly was I think it was you, Edwin, that said the first 3 episodes are best paired watching them together and like all as one big movie. And I totally agree with you. I watched episode 1, 2, and 3 separately from each other, and I wish I didn't do that because I think episode 2 would have been better if I paired it with the one before it and the one after that. So high recommendation to do that.
Yeah, they work perfectly in a 3-act structure.
That's the thing. That's the reason why I've done so many of these things, right? Lindelof, Lord Lindelof himself, loves his trios, okay? He's got the trio of Lost and The Leftovers and Watchmen, the trio of me, Addi, and John, the trio of the 3 episodes, the trio of the 3 seasons. You see, everything has been meticulously planned, as you see.
Yeah, you did 3 spoiler episodes before doing this one.
Exactly.
Mind blowing. Like absolutely blowing.
To be fair, now I did forget about that intro just because I forgot about the rise in the music and then leads into the intro. What I love about the ATF conversation is that it's one of those things that this show does that I commend a lot when it comes to sci-fi movies, where they will just have the weirdest shit around them and they just don't explain it because it's completely normal to them. The ATF is now in charge of handling cults too, and that's just not explained for you. That's just, hey, the ATF handles cults because that's what would happen in this world. And that's so fucking cool to me whenever media does that.
Yeah, and don't forget later in the episode we learn about the departure benefit. So there's more of that kind of cool world building stuff in that episode.
Oh, by the way, that scene with Nora and asking about the parents about their son.
Oh,
that is so awkward.
Yeah.
And good awkward, by the way, because that's
it's painful awkward.
It is painful.
It's painful. It's painful. Good, painful, awkward.
It's exactly.
What I mean by good is it's mean that it's exactly what you're supposed to feel.
No, 100%.
If we're gonna go to that scene, there's got to be some dramatic irony to Nora being the person who found a job like this, right?
I have no doubt in my mind that she's the type of person that went and applied for that job the day after like everything happened. Like that's just the way Nora is. Earlier, like jumping back a bit, that scene in the coffee shop when she just knocks the coffee cup over and breaks it. So the guy comes out and he's ready to scream at her and he sees it's her and there's that moment of sympathy. You could tell that's just Nora's game. That's what she's trying to do.
God bless you.
I'm dying. Keep talking.
No.
Well, yeah.
Nora is fantastic in this episode. That's one of the things I wanted to get across really quickly.
She's a character. At first, I had my foot behind my back because I was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about her, but no, she's great.
Yeah, you pick up on that pretty quick. She's one of the more unique characters in the show, and the actress Carrie Coon, I think it is. I have to look it up. I think it's Carrie Coon, but
it is Carrie Coon.
Thank you.
I came out of my coma for that.
Thank you. I'm sure she'd appreciate that too. But she's absolutely phenomenal and one of the best parts of the show. Which again, she's only in episode 1 for that brief moment that at the speech she does,
giving the speech,
which gets rudely interrupted by the GR. But yeah, she's phenomenal.
Now, I would be the person who would choke myself while drinking water while recording a podcast.
Druckman.
So, look. All right, what would have been a true Druckman moment is if I keeled over from drowning myself with water. Okay, in the first 40 minutes. We're not going there, damn it. That's next week.
I will not talk The Last of Us 2 today.
We are not going to, okay? No. This is a positive place. This is a happy place, damn it. We're talking about The Leftovers, the most depressing show ever.
It's a happy place. Friendships, please.
So, I do want to bring up Nora because, first off, how fucking dare not only I, but all of us not bring up Nora? How dare we? It took 48 minutes at least as I'm seeing this clock to bring up Nora. How dare we?
Yeah.
So, my God, can we just talk about how Nora came up in 2 minutes in the first episode and just stole literally everything about that scene.
Yes. By the way, I forgot to mention that statue in the first episode.
Oh, it's creepy.
That is creepy as shit.
Yeah,
That's something I expect on Bloodborne.
Yeah, I made a note of that. I'm like, there's no way a fucking statue like this would ever be made.
Yeah. Holy
Honestly,
shit. It's depressing.
It's a small town. I buy it just because I can imagine that they're like, we're gonna get this parade set up for the town. Who's the town artist? Oh, we literally have the one dude who doesn't leave the coffee shop. Oh, okay, you know what? We'll commission him for an art. Do what you feels best. What the fuck did you create? What sort of monstrosity did you create? I understand that this is Heroes Day, Departures. You really want to put out a statue that every time someone looks at it is reminded of the loss that they had? This was a bright idea.
Listen, dude, here's days tomorrow. We don't have time to do anything else. Just put it, go with it.
It literally looks like they ripped it from the intro. Like, it looks like a
Yeah.
statue ripped from the intro.
Oh, absolutely. You would have to imagine that they created the statue for the pilot, and then when they were creating the intro, they're like, how are we not going to use that horrific statue in it?
Yeah, Nora carries a gun on her back.
Yes, Nora is fantastic. And we're only talking about the first 3 episodes again. She's in episode 3 a little bit, but going throughout the series, she's easily one of the best characters in the show.
Nora is the queen. I will follow her to wherever show she needs to go to. I put Fargo on my list just because she showed up on there.
Oh, Fargo's phenomenal.
She showed up on Fargo. I haven't seen the series.
Fargo's
only the movie.
phenomenal. Highly recommend it.
Not only that, there's another show called The Sinner, which eventually I'll talk about that just because I still haven't watched season 2. But season 1 is a very good limited series. It's like 8 episodes. It tells a story about a woman who murders a man, and the story is basically not how she did it, but why she did it. It's damn good, and Nora shows up in season 2 as her own story. They don't have any connections in between them besides the detective who's figuring it out.
Is that the one with Jessica Biel?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I've seen it.
Now, that's way off topic. But basically, I will follow wherever Carrie Coon goes. Wherever she goes, I'm ready to be there. I'm happy she got her Avengers check, though. Good for her.
Fun fact, she liked one of my tweets on Twitter. True story.
Oh, cute.
Addi, I hope you frame it.
Dude, she's so into you.
Nora, if we're going to get into her for episode 2. I was very annoyed with Jill this entire time, along with her friends. However, I always chalk it up to teenagers be dumb, and I just move on.
The twins are interesting because they play a larger part later on, but they're just such tools.
They are the Prius. That's the thing. They are the Prius who talks twice.
They are the Prius. They are the Prius. That's the best
Literally,
way
if
to
you open up a
describe it.
dictionary and look up douchebag, their pictures are going to be in there.
Accidentally pasted twice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, Meg. There's something about Meg that always bothers me, but I think it's more of just the actual voice itself. The fact that she just always sounds so quiet and weak, which I get that's for the character, but every time I hear her talk, I just kind of wish she wasn't.
I love Liv Tyler though.
Yeah.
She's a good actress, and she plays the part of Meg perfectly. But when there's a line, but it's later down the show where she just like, you could have shot that again. I don't mind it, but she's good. She's great.
Oh no, I agree. I have no problems with Liv Tyler at all. It's just that there's something about. I just think that it's mostly that kind of person. We all know that kind of person that is very meek with what they speak. They have a personality, but you just kind of wish that you could pull it out of them.
Yeah, for sure. I think also too the show does a good job at manipulating us possibly not to like her, or I don't know, not like her or feel sorry for her or whatever you want to do it. But I know the fact that she was weak enough to join the GR, or at least try to join the GR in the second episode. I don't know, it always rubbed me the wrong way, and it made me dislike that character, but not in a bad way, but like I just don't like the character.
Oh yeah, talking about that, I just remember the scene where Nora just gushes water all over her or over Meg, and Meg just was not expecting it. Let's later down the show. Let's go back to.
I will say though that is a good point. I mean, the whole point is to make Meg look very weak. So
yeah, especially with the tree cutting scene. Like she's never cutting that tree down ever, and that drives home the point that she's weak.
I was reading it more as the GR are just a bunch of nihilists that love wearing white and smoke, right? That's just basically what they are. I always read the tree cutting scene as more of, hey, we need you to cut this tree down with an axe. What is the point? There you go. Boom, there's a revelation.
I was never quite sure how to take that scene, other than, just cut the fucking tree down. Let's get the show on the road.
Literally, we just need you to cut down the tree so we can get to the next episode, damn it.
No, she tries. She goes back to the tree at the end of the
She
episode,
does.
so she's trying.
That's the thing. Whenever I read her finally cutting down the tree, in my head, I keep thinking, is this you accepting that it's pointless and that you're just going to keep going? Or because the GR's whole point is to remind people of what happened. So is the tree cutting to make you a nihilist? That's where I lose the connection. It's supposed to teach you that nothing matters, but where's the connection to?
But she goes back to it.
Yeah. The connection to me that's lost is it doesn't matter, but then from here, how do you connect that to be annoying to everyone else? I'm simplifying it, but what about you are now a nihilist, share it with everyone else? That's where it loses me.
I think of ZGR as like ultimate cowards. Not if they just decided to stay at their own, like, yeah, we're eternally emos now. But no, they want to recruit others. They want for the movement to grow. Somehow, this movement, there is someone behind it with a lot of money because they are buying everywhere. They are buying houses. They are ruling all over town and getting bigger.
I mean, they did have $131,000 to just drop on a church like nothing.
Ouch.
Like it was nothing.
I feel like we're going to be spinning wheels about episode 2 just because episode 3 and 1 are really the big ones. So I don't want to touch episode 3 yet. But man, we're going to get there.
One thing that I really like about episode 2 is it comes in relation to the end of episode 1 with Kevin shooting the dogs. Because no one believes there is the bald guy. Everyone thinks that Kevin is going insane. And for Kevin, he knows that he's not going insane. For Kevin, like, the only thing that for Kevin that makes he thinks that he is insane are the bagels disappearing from the heater. Then the episode ends with that scene of him just going there, finally opening up the heater to find the bagels. Because that for him, if he finds those bagels, then he's not crazy. Fuck the bald guy. I know that shit happened. That's the kind of character that
and
Kevin
can we talk
is.
about how amazing that scene is with the music interlaced in it? Like, I think that's the first time we get that particular rendition of the score. But holy fuck, how can they make a scene where a guy's searching a toaster oven for goddamn bagels be so goddamn intense? How you do that? That music. That's how you do it.
To talk about just Kevin's craziness, right? Just because I realized that we somehow skipped over that for episode 1. Of course, going back to that abrasive editing where the woman with the dog asks Kevin, "Oh, I thought you went crazy." And then that hard cut to basically Kevin Sr. running around naked. And then him going, "Oh, no, that's my dad."
That's my dad. Kevin.
Don't
Kevin
worry,
Sr.
I'm proud of him. That's my daddy. So
That's my dad.
basically, yeah, that's just a Saturdays. So when it comes to Kevin losing his mind, I am so very happy about now. Okay, I'm about to spoil something for Fight Club, but if you haven't watched Fight Club at this point and you're watching this, watch Fight Club and then watch The Leftovers. Okay, I'm pretty sure both of them are on HBO.
If you haven't seen Fight Club at this point,
Get out of your
what's wrong
coma.
with you?
Get the Fight Club. Watch it. It's good.
Pretty much. So I am very happy that we didn't get Fight Clubbed where they kind of string you on for the entire runtime of, is it someone else? Is it someone else? I'm so happy that basically head on in the second episode, they show Kevin along with the bald man. They have Jill, and Jill does acknowledge that man. She doesn't acknowledge him right then and there while the door is open, but she does acknowledge that he does kind of exist.
Yeah, I really appreciated that too.
I think she picks up the beer directly from the bald man, or she takes it from Kevin. She gets it from the bald man.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
because Kevin refused to pick
he tells her to put it in the fridge.
Correct. Yeah. There we go. I'm very happy that was done just because I didn't need them to take 10 episodes and then just go, is Kevin crazy? Is he imagining this? Is he just imagining that the 2% is gone? Like, no, we're not doing that. They spend this entire episode basically explaining, no, look, Kevin is sane. This is his dad. This is the example of crazy. Kevin is not crazy. So then at that point, basically everything else that happened in the show, you just kind of accept. It's either going to be a dream sequence or reality. It's not going to be some sort of things from
losing my mind.
No, we're not going to talk about losing my mind.
We're not talking about
that.
Not
going to go there.
The bald guy, I don't actually know the actor's name, but he was phenomenal in Jericho too. Really good character. Really good character actor. Jericho's another good show.
And the name of the character is Dean.
Michael Gaston. Okay, there's something about that name that makes me think that he was in Lost, was he?
He might have been. but I don't
Don't remember
him.
him in Lost, but he might
Lost
have
in a
been.
lot of people throughout that show.
Yeah, like 6 seasons with always new
Yeah.
characters somehow. How many people can there be in a deserted island?
That many. The answer is that many.
You just got to have an underground bunker in the island.
Oh yeah, several. That's not getting
No.
lost.
We kind of already are, though. That's the thing. We're talking about the leftovers.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else that you guys have in your notes to touch about episode 2?
Really, the only thing, just to reaffirm that I think we can all agree that, wow, I mean, I'm going to say that the best scene in that episode is Nora interviewing the parents by far. It's so awkward, as we mentioned earlier, but that scene showed me how important Nora was going to be for that series, and just how, it was just so awkward. I just felt so bad for the parents, but at the same time, you're like, hey, yeah, this is Nora's job. I get she has to do it, but it's almost like she's taking some pleasure in asking these questions.
You know what? Let's end this episode. Let's end this talking about this episode, not the actual podcast episode. Let's end the discussion on episode 2 about this scene. Now, you are completely right. Nora enjoys being close to the pain, but not being reminded of her own. It probably gives her just this satisfaction to be reminded that even though she lost someone, she lost her entire family, that she's not the only one who lost someone. But there's also something in her performance that feels very cold and detached. She's being outwardly warm to the parents, but she's also so cold to them to a certain degree where you can tell she's done this so many times.
That's what I was gonna say, is that she acts like she's seen so much, so many people. She asked this 150 questions 1,000 times each, and it just doesn't faze her anymore. It's actually something she takes pleasure in seeing in the different outcomes of the questions.
Do you think that she sees it as security theater?
No, because I think she sees through people. I think she
Oh,
can.
no.
I think she just.
I mean the questions.
What do you mean?
Do you think she sees the questions that the Department of Departures is asking as just security theater? Kind of, even though she's asking the questions, she doesn't really believe that the questions will lead to any answers?
I kind of almost believe that Nora added some of those questions herself. Like, I don't know if she just goes and like scribbles them down there, but she's the type of person that I could see her having the input in some of these questions and adding some of them in there. She enjoys seeing people answer these questions. I really do believe that. Not to shit on her character too much, I think it's phenomenal, but I do believe, especially early on, that's just the type of person she is.
Sir, this is a Nora Simpson, okay? We are all about Nora here, okay?
Oh, I love Nora.
If we had to put a trinity, okay, all right, we've got Kevin, Nora, and Matt. All right, they're the trinity, and then we've got Lord Lindelof right above them. Okay,
I would completely agree.
We understand that there's never any shit talking for her.
Matt, by the way, especially if we're going to get into episode 3, quickly became my favorite.
Call it a segue. Episode 3 now.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Matt is just, oh my god. Christopher I won't
Christopher Eccleston. There we go.
Eccleston, yes. At first, I was confused about the American accent because that man is British as they come. But quickly, I was just taken by it. His performance is great. His character is just fantastic. Oh my god. I'm not a very religious person. But the fact that a man of God just stole that series for me. He just drives it home perfectly. Oh man.
No joke, the reason I started watching The Leftovers in the first place was Christopher Eccleston. I just finished watching Doctor Who, like catching up on the Doctor Who series, and I needed something new to watch, and I saw he was in it. And I remember watching the first 2 episodes, and I was obviously hooked, but I was like, man, is he not even in this show? He must be a really minor bit part. Because he's in episode 1 and 2, but for very, very small portions of time. And then episode 3 happens, I'm just like, fuck me.
I started watching Broadchurch because of that reason, but that's a different Doctor.
Another phenomenal show.
For me, what I always come back to, this is just something about Christopher Eccleston that I'm always reminded of. I've never watched Thor: The Dark World, and I know that he's talked about how he had such a horrible experience with Thor: The Dark World.
Oh my god, I forgot he was in that movie.
He was the... Don't worry.
Yeah, I blocked that out of my mind.
I swear to God, I blocked the entirety of that movie.
I've never watched that movie, but every time I remember that he was the villain in Thor: The Dark World, I'm always happy thinking about, I hope he got his paycheck. I hope he got his paycheck because I'm pretty sure The Leftovers wasn't paying bills.
For me, it's insane that, going on a tangent here, that the first 2 Thor movies are just awful, and Thor Ragnarok is probably the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. It's just fantastic. I love Thor Ragnarok.
Now, I know
Such a metal movie.
I know Addi goes Spider-Man. I know he's probably going to go Homecoming, maybe either Infinity War. Am I right?
For my favorite?
Yeah.
My favorite Marvel movie is probably Infinity War.
Okay.
Let me put it like this. My favorite is Thor Ragnarok. The best is Infinity War.
I don't know where I'd land. Those would be my 1 and 2. I don't know how I'd flip them, though.
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok's really good. Although I will say I actually didn't mind the first Thor. Thor Ragnarok is light years better, but I actually didn't mind the original Thor. Thor Dark World, though, shoot it into the sun. Fuck that movie.
I will watch it one day when I hate myself enough.
Don't. When you hate yourself enough, watch The Leftovers
No,
again.
John, you don't understand.
It's a better way to get yourself to
John,
commit suicide.
I watched the whole video of DSP playing Metal Gear Solid 3. I can handle it.
That's
a tough one. I'd almost rather watch Thor Dark World than that again.
It is shorter. It is an hour and 52 minutes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we had our Normie break for 5 minutes to talk about Marvel. All right, Normie break is over. Back to being the cinephiles that we are. Episode 3. My God. This is the episode that if this doesn't sell it to you, I have no idea. No, you know what? No, I was going to go a different way saying, if you watch this episode and you didn't like it, I have no idea why you would even watch the rest of it. No, if you didn't like this episode, you are wrong. I'm going to affirm that you are wrong.
I agree. I've said this before, and this is a bit maybe hyperbolous, but to me, this is one of not only the greatest hours of television, but just art in general. I think this episode surpasses many movies. I think this episode surpasses a lot of other TV shows. It is masterfully done. They could have canceled The Leftovers on this episode. I would have said, damn, you know what? I got something out of this show.
It's so goddamn good. Especially the structure of it is also, it's perfectly paced.
Oh my God.
This episode consolidated my hate for the GR, but it earned it. It wasn't just, oh yeah, you hate them now. It was like, oh, you will hate them.
This is the episode that for me, even when you start a show with a baby disappearing, a child losing a parent, a dog getting shot in the face, there's nothing that I feel is quite as depressing as the first 30 minutes of this episode and showing just Matt's life over and over and over again of him constantly getting his ass kicked, either actually literally by the guy who put the paper in his mouth, to then finding out he's getting foreclosed, his wife, that entire situation. Just, I can't believe how many kicks in the ass this man gets, and he just kept going.
He keeps going. And it's also fantastic. He also lost his wife in October 14th, but his situation is the worst because he
has her.
Yeah, he can't move on. He can't move on.
He can't move on. He's stuck. He is
still
stuck.
has her.
Not only
he still has her, and he does not have her.
Not only in this, and not only in the sense that literally he's stuck. He has no money. He is just doing his best to try and get his congregation back, and he's losing the church. But he can't move on. It's not like his wife is dead. She also didn't move. She's there,
trapped.
She just isn't.
Yeah. And again, really early on in the episode, I think it's like 2 to 3 minutes in,
Depressing.
Maybe a little bit longer than that. But again, the guy walks in, kicks the shit out of a priest, shoves the paper in his mouth. Again, you should already know what you're getting into by this episode, but there we go. Like, we're getting a priest getting his ass absolutely handed to him in episode 10.
Also, what a turnaround, because what you see of Matt in episodes 1 and 2, you kind of get like hostile towards him. But episode 3 just completely turns that around.
This is now, we're just going to jump around this episode because, man, this is just a phenomenal piece of television. I did want to bring this up. This is right there, right next to me with the best hour of television, right next to Ozymandias from Breaking Bad. Like, Ozymandias is a culmination of just 5 seasons of things, just a house of cards finally falling. I'm so impressed that an episode that is basically the actual ending to a TV show could be even put in the same breath as a show that is 3 episodes into its show run. That is incredible.
Not only that, 3 episodes into its showroom with a character we've had no time with.
A man who is a bit character in the first 2 episodes. That, I don't understand how you can just pluck him out. and just say, you are now going to care about this.
It's one of the most perfect casting jobs ever, too. I don't even know who you would get other than Christopher Eccleston to play that role and bring
Oh
that much
no,
to the role.
he's perfect for the role. He's fantastic. At first, this episode got me a little bit scared because when I realized that the episode was going to be entirely about him, I got a little bit of a fear that it would be like Lost, like it would jump around with characters. It's not the case at all. It's like you said earlier, it's like the trifecta of
Matt, Kevin, and Nora.
Yeah, let's see, since you another character, not gonna go into that. But like you said, it also sets the tone for the rest of the show as well. Because it's a change of pace, but not enough that it's neck twisting. It's just perfectly paced.
This episode is the reason for how I describe this show. I tell people 2% of the population has disappeared, and the show is basically about how the people of this small town kind of explore their world after that. This is the episode that I usually use as an explanation of how I describe it. Because the first 2 episodes are kind of Garvey focused, they're kind of town focused, but it isn't until that we're given the focus on Matt that we kind of see a bit more of the ground floor. We're focused more on the Garveys in the first 2 episodes, but it isn't until you have Matt that you get to explore what the world looks like, since he's currently trying to write the paper to keep bringing down anyone who pooped.
That scene with him and Nora inside her house where he asks for the money, and Nora's just like,
I was gonna mention that.
I'll give you the money, stop writing the paper. And he won't do it. He's a man of his conviction. Whether it's right or wrong, he could have the money probably right then and there, and he won't do it. He won't even lie to her and say that he'll do it. He won't do it.
Not only that, he drops a bomb on her in that scene as well. That before poofing, his husband was cheating
Oh my
on her.
god, yeah.
I have no idea how to read that move. That's the thing. I'm so shocked that I can see him saying that. And even though it feels so out of left field, it feels cruel, even that it still feels so consistent with his character. Something that he hasn't been really that cruel the entire time. He can kind of hide behind saying, oh, I don't want people misinterpreting religion to say that everyone who was good disappeared. All of that, while it may seem cruel from the outside, at least you know his intentions. This feels like the first moment of actual cruelty, and I never understood why he does it outside of trying to really prove a point to go, look, this is why I'm writing my paper. Oh, wait, no, hold on. I just figured out the reason. There you go. Exactly what I'm saying.
I think that's it.
The entire
I think
reason
he's just
that he drops
he
that
believes in his
bomb
paper.
He's desperate.
is because my paper is showing that everyone who disappeared wasn't a saint, wasn't a shitbag, but your husband sadly was one of the shitbags.
It's that paper to him, that whole storyline. It's so incredibly important to him that he's willing to lose everything for it.
That scene with just Nora's acting of just, she can't believe she was not immune to the paper either. So even though Nora maybe doubts it, I believe him. I believe Matt when he says that he was never going to publish that one.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a line I don't think he would cross.
I'm so impressed that he does something so horrible, and yet it's not enough to make the audience lose him.
Yeah, but especially because the following scene when he goes to the casino and he talks to the
Owner, I assume. Manager.
the manager about the guy that used to gamble his kids' money. I get him. He's not just doing that because he's evil. He's actually trying to show people like, yo, we need to stop. Like, they're not heroes. We shouldn't call these people heroes. It's
Isn't
wrong.
that impressive to think that he is doing something that is pissing off so many people? And you can imagine that if you're in that world and you had a family member who disappeared and he started digging in through their shit to reveal things that probably should never be revealed.
I would dig in through his
Oh,
face.
that's exactly it. I'm so impressed that you can understand both the other side and also understand him, and
Yeah.
yet somehow you would still take Matt's side, and that's the power of this episode.
I think for me,
Yes.
it's sealed and dealed when you finally meet Mary and the reveal of Mary. When I saw her and just how sad that was, I could feel nothing but sympathy for Matt at that point because the guy had been through some shit. And the whole Mary thing is just tragic to me. And that reveal is one of my favorite moments of The Leftovers. It's haunting.
The thing that always gets me on rewatches is seeing that Mary is in the church and that the other woman is sitting there and she's like, oh no, please don't beat Matt's ass up. She stands up and tries to protect him, and Mary is right there. Mary totally saw all of that happening.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. Like, It's awful.
The score whenever they reveal Mary is just it's impossible to not feel like you're just in a complete pit of darkness whenever that music kicks in and you realize what kind of condition Mary's in.
It's Max Richter, right? That's
Yes.
the guy who did the score. Has he done anything else?
That is a great question. Now, of course, since I'm sitting in the dark and I'm using Google to light me up from a screen, I have it up. Max Richter. Okay, I have him
Yeah,
up.
I wanted to look into this beforehand. Sorry I didn't, but I'm just genuinely curious because his work is so phenomenal in this show. It just seems like a waste if no one else has jumped on him yet.
You are not wrong. Ooh, okay. At least for me, because this is a movie that I love. In 2019, Max Richter scored a film called Ad Astra, starring Brad Pitt. With
I
the
need to see that.
I love Ad Astra more than it's worth. I could admit that I don't think the movie is great, but I love it as if it were great. Okay, he has a long list here, but
Yeah.
there's nothing else here that I can see that I think, this is his masterpiece. From everything I'm
Interesting.
looking, he's got.
We are talking about his masterpiece.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no!
this is his masterpiece.
Oh no! I mean, is there anything else that would take this spot? Since the question was, has he
good luck.
done anything else? I mean, it's kind of hard to look at the work that he put into The Leftovers and then look at anything else and go, yeah, that I guess that counts. Like, no, we just got the Sistine Chapel. Hey, what else did you paint? Like, no.
By the way, something we didn't mention, and I know this isn't really relevant to episode 3, but I found this really interesting, is Justin Theroux's background. Because Justin Theroux is mostly a writer.
Yeah.
He wrote Zoolander 2, I believe. This guy,
Tropic
that's
Thunder.
his main job. Tropic Thunder. He's more of a writer than an actor.
Really?
Yes. So the fact that he
Oh my
puts
god.
on this performance as Kevin is just all the more incredible to me, which is something I wanted to mention earlier.
The dude wrote the funniest comedies ever, and he acts like a brick.
Well, that's what they say. The comedians are the most depressed people, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that like kind of Jordan Peele was really good when it came to jumping to horror? Comedy is basically just knowing when you should laugh and then going a little bit further, and that's when you get into horror.
True.
Tragedy plus timing equals comedy.
Seriously. I pulled up Justin Theroux. We've got Zoolander. Ooh, I remember his role in Charlie's Angel Full Throttle. Does anyone remember Charlie's Angels Full Throttle?
I've tried to forget about that, Edwin. Please don't bring that up again.
Yeah.
He plays a super Irish man. Super. His character's name is Seamus O'Grady.
Holy shit.
Oh,
John, you should give us your Irish accent for the fans.
Well, my name is Seamus O'Grady.
Excuse me, sir. Do you know who Seamus O'Grady is?
Don't you know me from a famous movie?
Okay, so he wrote Iron Man 2. He was a creative consultant on Megamind.
Iron Man 2 is another spectacular movie that people don't like.
I like Iron Man 2 more than it's actually there. I'm not going to go crazy and say, wow, that was great, but no.
I will say this. It is the best Iron Man movie.
I agree with that. Or although the first one's pretty good too. It's close between those two.
I look, I'm going to be on a losing battle here. I like Shane Black. That's all I'll say. Look. That's the Normie episode. We'll have a Normie episode at some point. Okay, that's gonna be the straight up to the algorithm. Please throw me in front of people episode.
Yeah, I'll just say this about Iron Man 2 because the coolest thing about Iron Man 2 is that the villain in Iron Man 2 is not the villain in Iron Man 2. The villain in Iron Man 2 is Tony Stark.
He is absolutely his own
and
villain.
That's what I love about that movie. Yeah, that's what I love about that movie.
Okay, let me see. He was also in Parks and Rec, and he was additional voice talent in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Because everyone is in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
No doubt.
Okay.
He was also in Joker too. I'm not sure if you guys
he was a cameo.
Really short
scene. He was a cameo. Now let's pull away from the Normie talk. Back to The Leftovers. Now,
yeah, back to Matt's amazing
exactly. Honestly, they could have just named that this episode. You didn't need 2 helicopters and a plane.
Matt's Weird Adventure.
Matt's Weird Adventure, Matt's Weird Adventure 2, and then Matt's Weird Adventure 3. So,
Absolutely.
I will let you guys drive for a second. What is a bullet point that you guys want to pull up?
The final scene of the episode.
Big guns. Go for it.
Like I said earlier, it's what consolidated my hate for the GR, because Matt, throughout the entire episode, he's helping the GR. He's a good man. He doesn't blame them for anything. He sees one of them get stoned. First thing he does, he stops his car. He goes to help. He gets stoned as well. And at the end of the episode, like, the people he's been helping, he's actually surprisingly caring about, are the ones that bought the church and are taking everything from him. And what's the most telling about Matt, especially in the other episodes, not to go too much into spoilers for the rest of the season, is that Matt is still trying to help them. His faith is not shaken any single bit.
Addi, you want to add?
The ending of that episode is horrendous to me. Just a little bit before that, when he finally gets to the bank with the money and he's like, come on, like, let me have the church. It's like, you just close, you could deal with this. And it reminded me, not to spoil, but it reminded me a bit of that scene in Interstellar, where all that time had passed and you didn't really realize how much time had passed. This one's obviously on a lesser scale, but yeah, he's like, no, it's been 3 days, man, where have you been? Like, you're fucked.
We try calling you.
Yeah, we tried calling you. And just that realization and just the gut feeling in your stomach, you're like, oh my God, like, all of that was for fucking nothing. All of
The
that.
bank itself wanting not to sell to them. I am just.
Yeah.
That actually feels like that hurts more, because literally no one wanted this to happen except the GR.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could tell the bank manager, like,
They didn't
liked
want to
Matt.
tell them.
Yeah, they didn't want to. Matt literally killed a guy. Like, well, I don't know if he's dead, but that guy in the parking lot, he's pretty fucked up.
I mean, that's cement, okay? Had that man done one more hit on that cement, I do think he would have been dead.
Yeah, he's gonna be fucked up if not dead. And so he literally went through all of that to get that money, and it was all for nothing.
All for
Why?
nothing.
And why? Because he took time to help a GR member out.
If you kill by a priest, that sends you straight to heaven, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like a get out of jail free card.
Even is
Or
that?
actually, wait, no, hold on. If a priest
Is that supposed? Is that technically holy death?
No, wait, but now here's no, hold on. I just realized that I'm looking at this from the wrong perspective. If a priest kills you, if a priest has to break their sacred vows to kill someone, does that instead send you straight to hell?
That's the question. I don't know. It depends. Would that be like a get out of jail free card, or is that a you're really fucked up, so you're going straight to hell, no pass?
Yeah, the question is it straight to jail, or is it pass go collect 200?
I think these are questions we don't know the answer to. It.
Yeah, I'm lost.
I'm going to go to my next congregation and ask, hey, if you killed me, oh shit, oh god, please don't tell my parents now.
What?
But yeah,
what if,
okay.
What if a priest hits someone really, really, really strong in the back with a paddle and yells Brian? What does that accomplish then?
I don't know. That's a very random question. I don't know.
These are questions that I don't want answers
to. Yeah.
Hey, what's the
season
keyword?
2 is fantastic. Holy shit.
John, let the mystery be, right? Just let
let the mystery be.
That's probably just gonna be the episode. Oh man. Okay. There is one thing that I want to touch on that is probably my favorite part of the episode. Matt during his coma. Man, I love everything about how that's shot. I love finding out that the story that he told at the very beginning. That's the thing. At the story at the very beginning about the kid who had lymphoma, I didn't really pick up the hint that he was talking about himself. Yeah. It's put it in your face directly, too. He's saying that same boy is now asking for attention again. It's put in your face, but it isn't until you have that scene of him with his parents, him supposed to be a child, but it's still Christopher Eccleston. Yeah. That scene is just so painful because you know the story now. Not only that, then you have him holding young Nora's hand and like, oh, are they dying in there? And he's just like, yes, Nora, they are. And you're like, oh.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Accurate.
It's painfully strong. It's painfully strong. Is that noise coming from my end?
Oh, it is. Oh, don't worry. It'll get cut out anyways.
Yeah, it's very emotionally charged, as this entire episode. It's Fantastic. Although I will say there's the one scene where the Leftovers is very good at sprinkling in a little humor when it needs to. And the one
Yeah.
scene where he catches Lori in the backyard of Kevin, which is actually really important character development for Lori, I think, because she obviously
Yo,
still has some emotional attachments and feelings towards Kevin. But he's just basically like, I won't say anything if you won't. And I was like, my man.
I love the inclusions of the Garveys in this episode. I love being able to see Matt interact with Kevin, and Kevin, we're not involved in Kevin's bullshit in this episode. And that's what I really like, that he just shows up. He understands that Matt is going to keep doing this. He just straight point blank asks, "Hey Matt, do you want to press charges?" "No." "Okay, cool. We're done here." Like, not only that, I do love seeing Lori in the backyard too, just because it's exactly everything Addi said. You have her just not being able fully to let go, which honestly ties back more to episode 2. I mean, Patty is always giving Lori shit about, hey, you're losing Meg. You're not fully committing to this. Which, now that I think about it, I'm actually shocked Meg stuck around.
Also, I think it's quite surprising that Kevin does not know Nora, because clearly the Garveys have a good relationship with Matt. I mean, clearly Kevin Sr. owns a lot to Matt, to the point where he left $20,000 buried in his garden just specifically for Matt.
So the whole connection there. Okay, so watching this episode again, we're supposed to assume that the person who crashed into Matt was that judge that he made his first paper about, right?
Yeah, I think so. Which, by the way, we didn't
Okay.
really talk about that, but how that all ties together from the first episode is fucking phenomenal.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Now, I don't remember who I watched it with. It may have been my wife. She used to be a vet tech, so she understands biology. I have no fucking idea. Look, I don't understand terms. I just know how to do things. For example, someone told me to get the sum in math, and I had no idea what that is. I just said, give me the formula and I'll figure it out. Anatomy, don't understand. So I think it may have been her when we watched The Leftovers, and she was saying that Matt picking up Mary out of the car might actually have been the moment that he fucked her up. It might
Yeah,
not have been the
that
car crash.
might have been because the
Yeah,
spinal cord.
I kind of had a
Mhm.
feeling that they were kind of alluding to that almost.
Yeah, I did a few courses on first aid, and the one thing that they drive home about accident is that don't move whoever had an accident. And if you have to move them, hold their head still, because if they had a lesion on their clavicle or the spine, the moment the neck moves, it's the moment where you lose them.
To add to Matt's misery, just
Yeah,
imagine that he's the one that did that to Mary.
I was thinking about that all the time when I was watching the episode, like, oh no.
It's something that's not even told to you, and somehow Matt's horrible day keeps getting worse. At least just the entire episode.
Yeah,
We just can't stop punching this man down.
Matt's
No.
terrible.
Although I will say, one thing we haven't talked about is there is one happy moment for Matt, and I think it was a good piece of character development and just shows that he
Oh,
does enjoy being a priest, was when he gets to give a baptism to the child. And I thought that scene was really sweet because it showed that he still
Cares.
liked being a priest. He still cares. And you could tell that
He still believes in his
yeah,
calling.
and he turns away the money. He's like, "No, I don't want the money." Just and he needs money. We know how bad Matt needs money, but he turns it away and he's like, "No, can you get your wife to come with you to service?" That's all he wanted in return.
that scene is just, it's such a bright spot in these first 3 episodes. Like, of course, we want to see these first 3 episodes as a good pairing together. That is the brightest spot from these 3 episodes. That's the little respite that you have for just the completely depressing, grueling shit that you're going through. And I can't believe just Matt is that devoted. I love that he has to tell him, I'll promise that I'm not going to tell anyone about the fact that I did a baptism, but you don't understand how excited I am about that. The genuine excitement that he has, I'm about to break it down in like just regular writing terms, but that is a very save the cat moment. This entire time, we're pretty much negative to Matt the entire time, but the baptism is the save the cat moment where we finally are like, okay, you know what, Matt, not a bad guy. I can see a little bit of how he is now.
Yeah, 100%. It's a really great piece of character work that they included that in there. And I think you touched on an interesting point too. I think what's so brilliant about The Leftovers is it is mostly depressing, 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 depressing. But it seems like Damon Lindelof is just smart enough to know when to put in a little moment of just that moment of break, the moment of reprieve that you're looking for. that you need so badly because it's just been depressing shit. And that's what The Leftovers is so brilliant.
Yeah,
at.
and especially in contrast with the depressing shit, those moments seem so bright. Yeah,
Brighter.
they're
I
fantastic.
mean, hell, I mean, literally the way it's shot is just completely bathed in warmth. Like even before and after, the church feels warmer after having done that baptism. I love this show.
It's so good. It is
Same.
so good. Also,
It's
too.
it is
Go ahead.
no, you're good.
No, I'm good.
I literally was just gonna say it's the greatest show of all time. That's all I had to say. Because it truly is.
It's so funny because I thought after watching the finale to Mr. Robot, I was thinking, shit, okay, Mr. Robot might be my favorite TV
Have you
show
seen
now.
Twin Peaks?
No? I mean, I play Control, so yes.
Twin Peaks is
I have seen Twin Peaks.
it's currently my favorite show of all time. I still have to finish The Leftovers, but Twin Peaks is currently my favorite show of all time, especially with The Return. Oh god, it's fantastic. It's perfect.
John, I'm curious. Did you say The Return is what elevated it to your favorite show of all time, or did you like it even before The Return?
I liked it even before The Return, although season 2 is rough. Season 2 needs a lot of cutting because, for those who don't understand, season 2 of Twin Peaks, Twin Peaks started as a project from Mark Frost and David Lynch. And in season 2, David Lynch was out of the project. I don't know what happened. He couldn't direct, he couldn't write. So season 2 was driven to the ground. David Lynch only returned for the final episode. Then he did the movie, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. And then season 3, it's back just him. And season 3 is fantastic. The Return is basically an 8-hour movie because it's just so perfect in the spacing and in the things it shows. It's absolutely insane. It's not for everyone, but it's absolutely fantastic. And season 2 is it's rough. It's a major down point for the series, and that's what holds it back the most.
Yeah, The Return is absolutely phenomenal. Like, absolutely phenomenal. That's good television right there.
So just because I have no experience with Twin Peaks besides playing Control once,
Basically, it's Twin Peaks. So.
Yeah, Control is Twin Peaks plus SAP.
So basically, I have the Wikipedia up. 8 episodes to season 1, 22 episodes to season 2, the
Yeah.
movie, and then 18 episodes of season 3. So let's say that I'm already sold on Twin Peaks. I want to watch it. What is the best way I can watch it? Suffer
That order.
through season 2?
Suffer through season 2 because
Wow.
Yeah.
especially near the end of season 2, it gets a lot better, but there is just so much filler. Especially if you're gonna watch Twin Peaks, you can, especially in season 2, you can just skip everything related to Bobby. It's pointless. It's completely pointless. It has nothing to do with the rest, and so much so that when there's a character that hits her head in Twin Peaks season 2 and suddenly becomes stronger, and when yeah, she becomes stronger and she's 30-year-old, 40-year-old woman, and she started thinking that she's 17. And when David Lynch returns to the series, the first thing he does is like, nope, fuck that. She's back to normal. Go to hell. I don't want this. I don't like this. And he redacts everything that he didn't like. They fucking drove the show to the ground. But season 1 is perfect. Season 2 has some major highs, but some major lows as well. And season 3 is just high.
Season 2 really should have been like 10 episodes. Like, really,
yeah,
that's
it's
all it
what
needed.
you said it was like 20-something
Yeah,
episodes,
it's 22
22.
episodes. It's way too fucking long.
It could have been 10 episodes easily. If not for my girlfriend wanting to watch it with me, I would probably have dropped the series.
Just because I can't call Twin Peaks normie shit, I have no idea how to segue back.
Oh, it's not. it's anything but normie shit. Twin Peaks is Kino
Oh,
shit.
yeah, no, that's Kino shit. So let's go back to some different Kino shit. All right. So
Yeah.
Matt believes that after having that baptism, he thinks that people are ready to believe. Ignoring everything that happens in season 1 and 2, do you think that there is a possible later on part in this world where people are actually ready to go back to that church?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I think yes. I do think there's a place for religion, and I do think there's a place for belief and worship. I think like anything else in that world, though, there needs to be more time to heal, for me anyways.
I actually wouldn't doubt that other churches are full, but since Matt is not all up in the disappearance stuff, that's why probably his church is empty. But I swear to you, I can promise you that in other places, other churches are full, especially after the happening.
Well, it's a good point too. Matt's probably a pariah around town, right?
Yeah.
Because they know he's the one putting up these signs, so that's not going to endear him to people.
He's not like, oh, it's God's work. Quite the opposite. He's actually against that talk.
You guys actually pointed my question in a different direction that I hadn't considered. The question specifically was, do people end up back in that church? Now, the thing is that in my head, was thinking more as a general question. But you guys brought up a good point in saying that the question was specifically Matt's church. Yeah, I don't think people will show up to that church as long as Matt is the person digging up people's
Especially
trash.
after the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah, there's no way people are coming back to that church. If they're coming back,
no.
they have to wear uniform white.
The ironic part
Yeah.
is that church is going to be busier than it's ever been.
Oh. The final kick in the nuts for Matt is that fact right there.
It's a kick in the nuts.
The stare off between Patty and Matt at the end of the app, and the camera just sits on it and gives you both staring at each other and the anger rising up in him.
Oh my.
And you know he's angry. You know he's frustrated.
Oh, of course. And you know that he still is going to be the exact same person. He knows that he does not regret stopping to help that woman who got hit by the rock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not to spoil anything, but he makes the same mistakes later on.
Yeah.
Matt's
you know
fantastic
you guys
episodes.
know what I'm talking about.
I know what I'm talking about.
Oh my god. Every time that Matt does something good, you're just like, yes, I'm so happy for you. Stop.
Don't
Stop.
do it, Matt. Be greedy for
Do you
once in your life.
Self-preservation,
Do
sir.
you know what cynicism is? Yeah.
That I can tell you.
He's so innocent. I can't fault the man.
I will never say anything bad about Matt. I just want to shake him and be like, this once. Please think about yourself. Please.
The anxiety in this episode overall is off the charts. I actually wrote in my notes that it's very similar to how I felt watching Uncut Gems. It's just the entire episode. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm nervous. I'm shaking. If something does that to me, it really affects me, and it just nailed it.
By the way, Uncut Gems, it's a movie that I will never watch again unless I have some calming pills with me.
Same.
Because
that movie is.
Oh no,
guys! If you never want to watch Uncut Gems again, never watch Good Time, because Good Time is the exact same thing.
I love Good Time.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one. I have to look into that.
It's the previous movie that the Safdie brothers made. It's basically what people realized that Robert Pattinson was worth something.
Oh, okay. I need to check that out.
Wasn't that Cosmopolis? Cosmopolis, Robert Pattinson was great.
You're right, and that's probably the right answer. However, I've slowly stopped becoming as much of a cinephile as I used to be, and that is one that slipped. So I will give it to that one instead. So just because I realized I didn't even get to answer the question of how I thought about seeing it, I was thinking more as general, do people go back to churches? My assumption is that I don't think there are that many churches that are full just because of the GR and Wayne. They're not the only cults that probably popped up afterwards. So that's why I think that in this world, religion doesn't have as much of a chance, because after this event, you'd have to imagine that there is a prophet on every corner saying that they have the answers.
I would say the opposite. I would say that churches are brooming with people now, because after 2% of the world population exists, it just disappears. Isn't that like the rapture or something like that people believe? That probably gives the church even more credibility. I think the issue why Matt's church is empty is Matt.
I think the answer lies somewhere in between. I think a lot. I think what John said is correct. Like, I think some churches are definitely booming, but again, I think it would depend on the area. Because I think if there's an area where there's a large GR membership, then I think you're going to see a lot less churches and a lot less church people in those areas.
Addi over here bidding $1 and the Price is Right and winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Let the mystery be.
Let the mystery be.
For me, so just because this is an interesting topic and I like pulling it, right? So I don't think Matt's paper is the only one that is pointing out, well, not everyone who disappeared was good. That meeting in the first episode where they're talking about Heroes Day, we have one dude completely separate before we even know about Matt. He's like, Heroes Day, I had a cousin who disappeared and he was a shitbag. Like, why we call him Heroes? And then the mayor goes, well, we can't call it We Don't Know What the Fuck Happened Day, okay?
I don't know. That'd be a really cool day. I actually have that in my notes, too.
Oh, I would totally show up to We Don't Know What the Fuck Happened Day. That's my
100%.
every day.
Yeah, that's pretty much 2020.
No, that's me literally right now. The clock shows an hour 46. If you told me, what were we talking about an hour ago, I would probably be able to answer and say The Leftovers, but if you told me to be more specific, I wouldn't be able to do it.
If we wanted, we could talk about The Leftovers for another hour and 46 minutes.
Oh,
I could go on all night. especially if we started getting into season 2. But that's a whole nother story.
Man,
You see, and that's why I said that we were going to keep it to the first 3 episodes, because I know that we had to keep at least some sort of a time cap on this.
yeah. You listening? Yeah, you. I know you're pointing at yourself now. Go watch The Leftovers. Even if you already did, go watch The Leftovers.
If you're still listening to this and you haven't watched The Leftovers, what is wrong with you? Watch The Leftovers.
All right, we've already kicked this man and punched this man or woman, whoever is listening to this, right, about not watching it.
Throwing
However, listening
stones at
this
him.
far. Listen, I would happily throw stones. Happily. All right. I will gun it 70 and just toss the rock. Right. So if you have gotten this far and you haven't watched The Leftovers, just spend the $10 or $15. HBO Max will be there for you. Don't you want to watch Mortal Kombat? Don't you want to watch a giant lizard fight a gorilla? Don't you want to watch a magic wishing stone? Don't you want to watch a magic wishing stone? Come on, you know you love that magic wishing stone.
Look,
Are you talking
Harley
about
Quinn
New
and booty
Green or
shorts.
Wonder Woman 1984?
Yes.
Also, you know what? Even if you don't want to watch The Leftovers and you're still not somehow convinced, go on Spotify, bring up The Leftovers soundtrack, listen to that music, and then come find me and tell me you don't want to watch that fucking show.
Also, if you want to watch but you're broke, there are less legal ways to watch it.
He's in Brazil, so he says this all the time.
Yeah, these are Brazilian laws. They run wild over there.
Yeah, like, I am not paying, but it's probably around $20 to watch one show. I love The Leftovers, but I can't. Not another streaming service. Not
Agreed.
another one.
Any bullet points that you guys want to touch on for episode 3?
Let me just check my notes here quick.
Yeah.
I think we went over most of it though. Oh, the only thing I wanted to say is when he wins that much money in the casino and give him the money, get a fucking escort to your car. I know you can get a fucking escort to your car if you win that much
Or
money.
at the very least, don't talk to
Absolute
anyone else.
Idiot.
Just drive.
That's it.
Isn't that just another moment? Okay, so yes, the escort. Yes, the escort. However, isn't that just another moment of Matt? You just want to shake him and be like, "Stop trying to be a good person, please."
I know.
By the way, that scene also reminded me of Twin Peaks, especially the return, the casino, and
Yes, yeah. Twin Peaks is fantastic.
It's fantastic.
It's actually, it shares a lot of similar kind of weird qualities.
Season 2 especially gives me a lot of Twin Peaks vibes.
Yes.
Just because I do remember it, the birds.
Yes,
the birds. Do we chalk that up to God?
It's a sign for sure. Whether or not it's actually God
or Matt reading too much into it,
or Matt reading into it, but hey, it's what works for Matt, right?
Yeah.
So.
I don't. That's the thing. I don't want to write it off as just Matt reading into it though, because if it were a bird just showing up in places, you can kind of chalk that up to coincidences. But by the fact that it's one bird on the stoop, 2 birds on the light, and then 3 birds on the casino table, the very fact that it's a sequence of birds, I don't know if that's just a writing thing or not.
I'll say this. At this point in the show, if I had just watched the first 3 episodes and nothing else, I'd chalk it up to probably a coincidence. But knowing the direction the show goes in, very likely it's something more. Let's put it that way.
Or something in between.
John bidding $1 and getting the Maytag washer. The answer is probably there, and isn't that really just what The Leftovers is? Yeah. The answer in the between.
Yeah, let the mystery be.
That, you know what? I feel like that's a good spot to leave it.
Yeah,
let the mystery be.
Let the mystery be. The Leftovers. Go watch it. Let the mystery.
Go watch it. Please watch this show.
Go watch it. If most of the time I don't have an audience. I just have family members that listen and tell me that apparently it's good. I don't believe them, but if you need to, come over. I have a theater. All right. I have the Blu-ray copies. We can figure it out from there.
I have pirate.
The sea exists. But please, Lindelof needs a second home. Okay.
I will say this: buy a copy in Blu-ray or DVD, or just pay for HBO. It is the money needs to be. Lindelof needs to pay his bills.
Pray for HBO.
Yes.
Just pray for HBO until the birds land on your TV.
HBO is a poor, starving company. They need your money. All right, come on, guys.
Game of Thrones hurt them harder than you think. Anything that you guys want to leave off with?
No, just thanks for having me on, Ed. It was great talking about The Leftovers. Please watch The Leftovers. That's it.
Thanks for having me on. This has been fun. Good luck editing everything, because I surely didn't help. But
Yeah, good luck.
Oh, no. It's going to be a mess. This is going to probably come out literally back to back with
Yeah,
the next episode.
Thank you. Go watch The Leftovers.
Let's just keep saying, go watch The Leftovers until I cut it. Go watch The Leftovers.
Go watch The
Go watch The
Leftovers.
Leftovers.
Let's
Go watch The
Inception
Leftovers.
this.
Watch The Leftovers.